So let's bring in ESPN On3 and Yahoo's Josh Pate to preview the bowl games here on Shan and RJ, your home of the Cowboys and Rangers via the D&M Leasing Hotline on 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, man. Thank you for making some time with us. Know you're busy.
I am busy. I'm a little nervous. I always find it weird that I get nervous for games that I have nothing to do with. I will play no factor in. I just hope to be right about them.
So, okay. So you're nervous about the predictions, not one particular game.
Yes to all the above. Why not? Just yes to everything. I'm nervous about everything.
All right. What's your hot take prediction? Like, what's maybe the one that's gone against the grain?
I feel like Alabama beating Indiana has gone against the grain, which is just like a bizarro alternate universe where you're the edgy, counterculture guy in the room because you're picking Alabama to win a football game. But so it's all predicated
SEC
on one
bias.
thing. Yes, that's what that's got to be. The lowly Big Ten. That's
Feinbaum got to you.
Yeah. But I will say this. All right, so it is I guess it would qualify as a hot take because if you've just watched the two teams, there's a real solid reason why this point spread is what it is. So kind of like with Ohio State last year, what I'm trying to do proactively is see around the corner. Like, who's going to put a little different profile on the field this week or tomorrow in this case than maybe what we've seen? Because I think the lasting image in people's minds with Bama is either the SEC championship game, where they were terrible, or even though they won the Oklahoma game, getting down 17-0 in the Oklahoma game. So if that Alabama plays Indiana, you can go ahead and give me Indiana to win, and probably by double digits. I am a very, very big believer that there's this little confluence of events happening with Bama that's going to lead to their best production and their best level of play all year, not the least of which is health. They are as healthy as they've been, not even during the season, since their second scrimmage of fall camp. It's really weird that as everyone else is suffering attrition, they suffered it during the season. They're getting it here. Healthy at the center position, as healthy as they've been all year. Getting LT Overton back as Indiana loses Stephen Daly, their best pass rusher. So that's a loss and gain there that I think matters. But overall, just in the aggregate of things, I think Ty Simpson and I think that Alabama team had something click for them in needing to come back against Oklahoma. So I think they're going to win the game outright. I took the points. I think they're going to win the game outright.
Josh, and not that you are, because you just talked about how Indiana could win this game by double digits if the wrong Alabama shows up. But it feels like the last 2 years there's been a real hesitancy to accept that Indiana's what Indiana has kind of shown themselves to be. Why do you think there is so much reservation? And I mean, particularly after they've already kind of run the table and they've already shown that they can hang with the Ohio States of the world. Why is there so much reservation about Indiana being accepted as real, do you think?
Just because people have to see it to believe it. Like, there's a very similar fight that I fight with Texas A&M. I believe Texas A&M under Mike Elko just generally can win a national championship. But when I say that to a certain kind of college football fan, they say that's impossible. And their evidence is Texas A&M hasn't won one, which to them means they can't win one. Like, there's a group of people in college football and in life who quite literally have to see something happen before they believe it can happen. Kind of the whole Roger Bannister sub 4-minute mile thing. Yeah. I don't believe that's the case. I believe something's capable of happening before it actually happens, or else it would never have the chance to happen. With Indiana, I do think there's a distinction between this year's team and last year's team. Last year's team, I felt the whole time, was a lot more a product of really high-level execution, but also a product of their schedule. And then they got in the playoff. Well, they faced Ohio State. They lost. They've got in the playoff. They lost. And so it really did turn out that there was a lower ceiling on that team. This year's team, I've been saying this since like week 4. This year's team is very, very substantially better, I think, than last year's team. It has a lot of more meat on the bone. It has staying power. And luckily, we got to see them go to Oregon, and they proved that. People can crap on the Penn State game all they want to. I thought that was a huge feather in the cap of that team to be able to go on the road. They played a Penn State team that clicked that day, which meant they played a top 15 caliber team that day, and they came from behind and won. They did what they did to Ohio State. Last year's team's not doing that stuff. So, I mean, I said I picked Alabama to win the game. That has nothing whatsoever to do with me thinking you can see through Indiana. I think Indiana is and deserves to be the number 1 team in the country right now. They're favored, and they should be. I don't think an ounce less of Indiana than anyone else does. Maybe I think more highly of them. That just goes to show you what level I expect from Alabama. But, yeah, there's no seeing through Indiana. They are every bit as legit as they look.
Ohio State 25 years ago was not down or had never like surfaced the way that Indiana had. But is there a comparison here to maybe say that like what Cignetti's done here, kind of coming from, a smaller school like JMU is similar to like the explosion that we got with Tressel, like where Tressel comes from Youngstown State and kind of revives Ohio State after a couple down years. I mean, it feels like Cignetti has quickly become one of the coaches that everybody talks about as being like a top 5 coach in college football.
Yep. Which brings two thoughts to my mind. The first is what you're talking about. How do we compare it? I've tried to do this, and what I arrived at is just stop doing it. Just stop trying to compare across eras, because we're in a brand new era, the likes of which has never existed. So even with Tressel, or if people don't buy that comparison, pick your comparison historically. No one existed in an era where they could come to a new place and bring their team with them, or import a large chunk of their team, and then go and import other players from all across the country. And that's not to knock what Cignetti's done, because everybody has that at their disposal. He did it better than anyone else. And also, he didn't go into Indiana and then take players from Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State. He brought a lot of James Madison kids over, and he won with them. And he's won 2 years in a row with them, and he's shown 2 years in a row that they eval the heck out of the quarterback position, and they're about to do it again. I think they'll get the TCU kid, Josh Hoover, I think. I'm not the biggest on portal rumors, but I think that's what will happen. So, I just think he's the first glaring example in this new era of the blueprint to do it. But then also what it makes me think is for all these places that have job openings or coaching searches, and we look around at all the hot boards and all the reported names in the mix, and it's like the same 5 or 6 names. I can't help but think whether it was Auburn or Florida or LSU or Penn State or Michigan, I think people are kind of missing the boat at 50,000 feet of understanding there are way more qualified candidates out there to lead a program to success than we ever thought. It's just that you've got to have a trained eye, like Indiana did. Indiana, now, to their credit, they understood they probably weren't fishing in the same waters as the big boys do, so by necessity, they had to have a different lens on their coaching search. But it behooved them, because they went and found Curt Cignetti, and it didn't take 5 years. Like when Frank Beamer came to Virginia Tech, it took over half a decade before he even started to bear fruit. Curt Cignetti started to work immediately, and with every one of these coaching searches, I asked myself, certainly there is another Curt Cignetti caliber guy out there, in that there is a guy who could come in off the radar and just kill it at this place immediately. It's up to them to find them, and you can't find them unless you have your criteria and your search factors properly calibrated.
College football insider Josh Pate here on 105.3 The Fan. Do the Hurricanes have any chance tonight?
Yes. Here's what has to happen.
With 9.5 points?
Yeah. What has to happen is we have to be watching the game early on and saying, wow, this looks like a different Carson Beck than that A&M game.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking him to be a different player. I'm asking him to be the kind of player we've seen him be before. He doesn't need to be Superman. Because this is not Miami last year. Miami last year just looked at Cam Ward and said, save us, every other play. Oh, that is not the way this team's built. This is a really, really well-built team. However, they can't win despite Carson Beck. They have to win because of him in a game like this. Ohio State doesn't let you hide the quarterback against them. So I was on the field at that game last week, and it's extremely, extremely windy, to the point where I think it fundamentally altered play calling, and especially when Miami understood what they had on the field defensively. I don't think they were willing to give the game away potentially by throwing the ball. So I do believe very early tonight we'll see some decisions made in play calling. We'll see some plays made by Carson Beck that makes us say, okay, maybe I still do like Ohio State to win this game, but it's very obvious a different level of play has shown up for Miami at the quarterback spot. But then on the other side, I mean, Miami's relying on defense to win this game, and that's where, again, early in the game, I'm watching, is Ohio State having success running the ball? Are they, in other words, sort of rendering the Miami pass rush irrelevant because they keep getting in 3rd and short, 2nd and manageable, and they keep balancing play calling, which is being done by Ryan Day tonight, by the way. If they do that, Ohio State will win this game. But if either of those factors start tilting, then it can quickly look like the Indiana-Ohio State game did. Miami absolutely possesses that ability. So it's very funny that the line on this game is the biggest line out of all the quarterfinals, and I'm the most intrigued by it because it's so rare that we see nearly a double-digit underdog where you could theoretically say I like them on both lines of scrimmage better, and they got more experience at the quarterback spot.
Josh Pate with us here on Shan and RJ on 105 through the Fan. Okay, Josh, the big matchup here, not just the Cotton Bowl locally that people are paying attention to, but a lot of people are going to be paying attention to the Oregon Ducks versus the fighting Cody Campbells of Texas Tech. And there's been some chatter. We've seen it out there of just people going like, Texas Tech, they're one of the things ruining college football, the way they just go out there and buy things. But it's clicked for them. Oregon's a favorite in this one, a slight favorite. How do you see that one shaking out?
Well, so let's just – I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people that you're speaking for. Let's just hold on a second, and let's make sure we remember there's a pretty healthy investment in the portal at Oregon, too.
Yeah.
There's a pretty healthy NIL investment. I don't think guys just woke up one day in Vidalia, Georgia, and said, I think I want to go to the Pacific Northwest in the next 4 years.
Cody Campbell versus Phil Knight.
That's what we want, and that's what Cody wants. I guarantee you he doesn't mind that marquee. All right, I picked Oregon to win this game, and the whole reason I picked it is because I think their O-line tailback room and mobility at the quarterback position is a different animal than anything that Texas Tech faced in the Big 12 this year. And that just means that what they did to stifle other teams' ground games may be a little less effective here. I think the most intriguing prop bet, if you look at that stuff out there, of this entire quarterfinal round is Oregon. I think they're over under total rushing yards. Is it like 140 or something like that? And I think the over is the play there, and it kind of coincides with how I think the game's going to go. I think Oregon's going to have success running the ball, and not just 4 or 5 yards at a time. I think there may be a couple of explosive runs here where they just crease Texas Tech and gash them, and you're looking and saying, wow, that didn't happen all year. If that doesn't happen, Texas Tech can suffocate this game. So I am very much rolling the dice that I'm right about that, because if I'm wrong about that, it seems like the entire world, for a point spread that's under a field goal, is on the same side. And that's a very, very dangerous proposition, especially when you find yourself on the same side as the world. Like, we've all seen how that works out. So, that one, that's another reason I'm nervous. Wouldn't you be nervous if you looked around and everybody was standing shoulder to shoulder with you? And it's normally people who you correlate with losing tons of money betting this sport.
Yes. And do I have it correct that the Georgia Bulldogs are your eventual champ?
Not my eventual champ. I still win Ohio State on that.
Okay.
I do. Here's what I wonder, because I think they're playing, Georgia being they're playing the most dangerous quarterback they will play in the remainder of this thing. Even if they go on to face Ohio State, or if they faced Indiana or Oregon or Alabama in the title game, I think Trinidad Chambliss has the opportunity to give them more trouble than any other quarterback that they would play in this tournament. They faced them already once this year. They opened with 5 consecutive touchdowns against Georgia in Athens. Now, there are a lot of Georgia folks who would tell you something about that game clicked our defense, and we've been different ever since. And I don't discount that. There's a lot of validity to that. The trade-off is Trinidad Chambliss is a lot better probably than he was at that point as well. And if you want to talk about one team that's got an us against the world mentality, you've got it in droves with Ole Miss. And I'm really interested to see on third downs. Georgia gets you in a lot of 3rd and 6+, and you just have those intangibles that a guy like Trinidad Chambliss has. Deshaun Watson, a generation ago, faced Kirby Smart and Nick Saban at Alabama, and had their defense on the field 102 plays in a national title game because they couldn't get off the field on third down, even though they were doing everything they wanted to do first and second down, because a freak show athlete kept on moving the chains. If he does that, then Ole Miss can win the game. It's just a lot of if. And I trust Kirby Smart and Georgia in these spots, so I do think they'll win the game. But I'm giving everyone a puncher's chance, man. Everyone's on upset alert as far as I'm concerned.
All right, last one for you here, Mr. Commissioner. The Texas Longhorns, what happened to my Longhorns this year, and are you giving any hope for a bright 2026 for Arch Manning?
Yes, I am. And I think in retrospect, maybe we look back in the history books 5 years from now when his total college career has been written, his early NFL career is starting to be written, and we say, hey, remember when we all hyped up Arch and he was kind of just okay, and then everyone sold their stock because he was just okay, and then he was, in his second full year as a starter, what everyone thought he would be after they sold the stock. That's kind of how I think we may tell the story there. And I also would say, this could apply to Texas and other teams, I think it's still very much a learning curve in this new era of roster building when it comes to how you allocate resources. How much money do you want to spend? What kind of player do you want to attract in the portal? Sark says all the right things, and I don't say that disingenuously. Like, I fully believe in Steve Sarkisian's philosophy. It's just so hard to put it perfectly into practice in roster building. So I do think they'll get it figured out. I'm a big believer in what they do there, but I do think this year was a little bit of a wake-up call because there were still moments. I think about the Georgia game specifically, and I've thought about 3 times they've gotten a shot against Georgia, and they've run into a brick wall 3 times, and there's no excuse for that. Just philosophically, if you're Texas, you get to do it any way you want to, and there is no excuse to run up against another program that gets to do it any way they want to, and they keep sledgehammering you to the face, because that means their way trumps your way, and you'll never get where you want to go unless you can match their way.
You're the man. Thank you so much. Enjoy all the games, and we look forward to having you on again. We appreciate it, man. Keep killing it.
I appreciate it, guys.
Josh Pate.